Okay, now we are going to have a speaker from Portugal who's going to talk about the Portuguese system, Dr. Paulo Si, who's also the PEM's treasurer. Yes, doctor.
Yes, I am.
Well, good afternoon. I'm going to try to be very fast in my presentation. It's not my presentation. This is from João Deus' presentation, but because of his delayed trip to Kyrenia, I will do the presentation. Of course, I'm not so positive in the vision of João de Deus about Portugal, but that's another matter. So that's me, and everyone speak about history, and also Portugal. We have, in the beginning of the 20th century, almost every the facilities and hospitals are from charity and social security system in local, based on a local system, and most of them are from mercy hospitals for poor people. And after some years, more, João Deus put it here, 71, they start change a little. I think probably to understand this, the 71, it's better to back 10 years before, because in 71 and 61, there was a big movement in Portugal from the doctors, because all the things I had listened from Turkish, that's what happened in Portugal at that time. And the doctors make lots of debates and discussion and make a report. We call this the medical career report. And this medical career report have two main ideas. The first idea is about a medical career, with support, with some expectation in the future, and so on. But also, together, they have the second main idea is to build a national system, national service. And this idea is a new idea. And we are speaking about 61. We are under a dictator Salazar, and it's not so easy to speak about this. But 10 years after, they published the first law speaking about medical career and speaking about some kind of idea of national hospitals support to the people. Of course, in 74, we have a revolution, the Giliflowers revolution, or we call Revolução dos Cravos, and after this, we have a new constitution in 76, and with a big change, because inside of this constitution, we have this idea of a national universal health care, general and free. And after this, 3 years later, we publish the law creating the National Health Service. And that's why, and at this moment in the government, one of the guys that are in health is one of the guys that wrote the report in 61. So I think it's very close between what happened in 61 and what happened in 74. So these all are together, and that's why nowadays we still are very close to the medical careers and the national health system. So what we have in Portugal is more or less the same as the other countries. We have the primary cares with small units, and nowadays they are grouped in the big groupments of these small units. And also we have a hospital network with the big hospitals, provincial hospitals, and small or local hospitals. And of course, João Deus read it. Did it work? Well, let's look for some figures. Very quickly, we are in 79, we are here, with mortality of the babies with 65.5, and also with life expectancy 66.7. And now, in 2013, we have if mortality of the infant mortality of 3.1 and the life expectancy of 80.8. And also, we can ask if this is about the speaking. Portugal is more or less here in the middle. And as you can see here, Portugal are very close to the first one. Also, this is an indicator of quality for the health system, and is the mortality rates for ischemic heart disease. And Portugal is very close to the first place. Why did it work? João Deus said it that is probably for the GDP per capita. No, oh, sorry. No, we are here. For the GDP, for the shared, for total health expenses for a shared GDP, well, it's not exactly here because something happened here. Oh, yes, it's here. But what we can see is that we have a public and a private, and this private amount is growing up after all these years. As you can see here, and also with the physicians for 1,000, we are, well, it disappeared. I think the slides are to configure it, so we don't appear here. We don't have. So never mind. Speaking about, so we have the medical careers as a backbone of this system, and we have what João Deus called clinical leadership, something like the management of the big units and small units by the doctors. And we also, inside of the careers, we have all these kind of things. The training programs, very, very clear and published by law. The left of the training, also very clear in the law. And we have all a program of evaluation. And also, these medical careers are supported by collective agreements. Just a short, I stop here to say that it's not always like that. We have some fights in the last 20 years, and in 2002 the government decided to change the system and decided to private the system. And now at the moment the politicians decided to close the careers and decided a new law that put it out careers for doctors, because they make private contracts for these doctors and they are not allowed to have what happened before with a career inside of the system. So between 2002 to 2009, we have fight against 3 ministers, and in 2009 the system are crashing, because suddenly the politicians understood that it was impossible to the system without careers, because people left the system, people go to the private, people don't want anymore to make formation to the youngest doctors, and suddenly they have no team, they have no service, they have no departments. So in 2009 they signed the agreement. So what we have here, collective agreement, is the finished process of this fight that was during 7 years. And so inside of this career, we have these steps very, very particular defined with different knowledge and skills, and all these bases on training and course and competitive public evaluation, the CPD of, that we spoke about in December in Luxembourg. And of course, like in Germany and many other countries, we have all this program of formation, 6 years of pre-graduation, and after this we have year examination, and after we have a formal education of 5 to 7 years of training junior doctors. After this we have another formal evaluation that are controlled by the Medical Association, Ordem dos Médicos, Portuguese Medical Association, and after that we have a continuous professional development with some degrees and evaluation. To be a consultant, you have to do an evaluation. And after that, that's also controlled by Portuguese Medical Association. And after that, we have another evaluation if you want to be head of department or something like that. The senior physician is the position for head of department. And so we are always in our lives being evaluated. Nowadays, they are trying to cut something of this. In the last 10 to 15 years, they try to change this because this is lots of money. Because we have to look for this and to think, and 5 members of a jury for evaluation of one doctor and multiply this for thousands and thousands. So it's a very expensive system, and they are trying to change. Nowadays, we have only in these evaluator teams 3 doctors, and and we are negotiating at this moment something like quickly contract evaluation, because we have at this moment very short for the doctors, and because in the last 10 years we don't accept it doctors inside the system. So it was very difficult, and it has been very difficult for the system. Well, this is not exactly, João Deus put it here. Of course, there are in the paper, in the law, some this of remuneration increase accordingly, but increase accordingly in some small amounts, and there are different regimes, and nowadays we are trying to change this, but still we have some difficulties in this remuneration. Also, we have self-regulation, that's true, because until now we are the association that Portuguese Medical Association control all this evaluation and process. But of course, this is the main idea of João Deus about leadership. Well, what can I say? This is idea of leadership, that big optimism, determination, and confidence. And of course, for João Deus, it must be a doctor. Nowadays, we have a problem because it's not now anymore the more differentiated and the older guys that go to the head of department. They are nominated or invited by the government, and we have some problems about that. And also, for João Deus, the doctors are seen something like that, always asking for impossible demands, waiting all the times, wanting more space, more staff, more money. Nowadays, it's impossible, and blackmailing the administrators and seeming to be insatiable. I don't think so. So the genesis for João Deus is this some kind of the doctor as a lawyer of the patient, and I think is a good idea that we always are very concerned about our patients. And of course, also that we are assume the mission of the behavior of the citizens. So for João Deus and for the clinical leadership, the doctors are the people that can see the big picture, the need of the hospital, and the budgetary constraints. And also is already someone that have these leadership skills, strategic plannings, goals for the hospital, and of course can consider all these different models. Well, for me, it's of course also the need for team building, communication, management, personnel, and so on. But the problem is when you don't have, you have a shortage of people in your teams. No matter this is very, very, very nice, but it don't work. And nowadays it don't work because of this. We are short of people all in hospital, in family doctors, and so on. So it's impossible, all these ideas. You know, in 2012, we have these total hospitals, 212 hospitals, public 121, like that. It's from Coimbra, and 91 private hospitals, like that is Luz. That's one of the biggest groups in Portugal, corporation of private health. Nowadays, this and the other group in Portugal have something like 4 billions of euros for year of business. So we are speaking about lots of money, more than 5% of earning for a year. It's a very, very good business. And also we have primary care health centers, 363, and since 2005, what was said about the Constitution, they are changing a small, because it's not anymore free, totally free, but tendency free. So we have co-payments, and we have also a subsystem that some civil servants, army and so on, and the private insurance that are growing at the moment. So we have the system that are being financed by the public insurance, state taxes and co-payments, and for João Deus is the best of the world. I just pointed some problems, but today we have also this what João Deus call grouping. I call fusions, because it's more a management view, because they took some of the hospitals of a provincial or local region and group it. This because they make a scale economy, as they call, and this created 23 groups of hospital, 54 groups of health centers in private care, the ACEs, and like that I showed you before, and 8 local health units. What we call these local health units, it's put it together the primary care units with hospitals. Did it work? No, because why? Because there are big difficulties in communication between the GPs, or now the family doctors, and the hospital doctors. It's not so easy as they think when they publish the law. And we have still 20 hospitals like psychiatric or oncologic and so on that are not grouped. And also we have this problem at the moment. Medical careers are partially frozen, very low payments for extra hours. Since 2010, our wage is frozen. We have many inequalities between the regions, shortage of doctors, as I spoke, and early retirements. So what we have now, we have these individual employment contracts. Nowadays, it's controlled by our labor contracts. It's from the two organizations, SIM and FNAM. We are controlling this in general agreements, and also we have these corporations, and there are problems with supplies because during 10 years no one came inside. They make some kind of short contracts with people or something like that. They make a big concourse, national concourse, and ask for hours. Well, we have 20,000 hours to buy for anesthesiology and so on, something like that. Numbers, as you can see here, we have problems, very big problems in anesthesiology. You can see here it's 2011. They needed 22,400 hours for anesthesiology in the Lisbon region, and so on. That's one of these. And for this, in 2012, we made a big strike. All together, all the medical organizations, FNAM, SIM, and Ordem dos Médicos, we make a big fight, and we have this obliged the minister to sign a new agreement. It is a little more comfortable, but it's not resolved the problem. So we are still with problems in labor conditions. We are still poorly paid work. And nowadays, we start having no specialized doctors because nowadays we have a shortage for the incoming of the specialization. So probably in the next year, we have to 700 young doctors without a specialization. And it's very good for the private because they can take these people to emergency department and so on. It's very free, like what happened with the nurses in the past. So what we have nowadays, the organization of the health departments, disruption of the hierarchies, loss of interest of training junior doctors. 3 or 4 years ago, the president of the Portuguese Medical Association published a paper in the national magazine asking for the doctors, don't forget that have this. This is something that we have, it's defining in the law. We are obliged for the law to give this formation, but there are lots of people that said, no, I don't accept no training doctors with me. Sorry, I don't have time and so on. So that's a very big problem nowadays in Portugal. And also, of course, all of these, the hand of the teamwork. And of course, also, we have not in official magazines, not still in the media, but we have less quality. We have risk of patient safety. We have also a big problem because it's not at the moment destroyed, but we have fragilities in National Health Service, and of course we have, after all these, shortage of doctors. And that's something like, why? You have 600 to 700 young doctors without formation, and you said you are shortest. Because we have shortest, we don't have capacity to make the formation of this guy. So we are discussing this and trying to arrange some kind of results. But for me, I finish the presentation here. Thank you very much.